Hello, everyone. I'm back, looking a little more disheveled than usual. So I gotta ask you guys something. Is the war a distraction? You know which war I'm talking about, right? That little thing going on in the Ukraine between Russia, two neighbors having a disagreement. They're both World Economic Forum young leaders, both Putin and the Ukrainian leader. Has anyone not wondered what happened to here in Canada when our prime minister is now talking about the freedoms of the Ukrainians and the Russian people? And just a month ago, he was using horses to crush Canadian peaceful protesters. Anyone remember that? What about that whole Dr. Fauci and COVID thing? Anyone remember that? Anyone? No? You ever notice how the news cycle progresses? They're trying to get you more worried every single day. Because fear is power. Fear will make people do crazy things. Absolute crazy things. I remember when I first heard that your family pet can get infected by COVID. Allegedly. I'm no doctor because I've had videos removed because I say things and people are like, oh, that's medical misinformation. Do you remember when people were worried about their dogs getting COVID? I actually know people who had their dogs put down because they didn't want to get COVID from their dog. That happens. That actually happens. Do you not think this war might be a distraction from something else? Here in Canada, banks want a digital ID. You can look it up. Every major bank wants to go now with digital ID. I just withdrew $98,000 from my bank account. I put it somewhere else, not in my home. So please don't try to rob me. But digital ID, they want digital money, digital currency. Can you imagine you're, a malcontent, a person who thinks a little differently than others, and suddenly, bam, you have no money. You have no money because you've been cut off from that sweet, sweet digital currency. Is that weird? Here where I live, today the mask mandates end. And me and a buddy of mine are actually heading for the butcher shop in about 20 minutes. And I really expect to see people wearing masks, afraid, get some of that fresh air. Last night, there was a protest in front of Dr. Strang's house here in Nova Scotia, who was the chief medical doctor of Nova Scotia, who's also about 200 pounds overweight, giving medical advice. And it's funny because the news was there quicker than the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, for 5 protesters and a dog. I see anger building in a lot of places. I do. I know a lot of angry people. And I try to tell them, anger ain't going to do it. I used to be very angry. Didn't do me any favors. But they're so focused on Ukraine now. Ukraine! Canada just sent $100 million worth of aid. A few million rounds of ammunition. Carl Gustavs. We don't have many of those left in service because they're just aging out. I know, I used to fix them. Rifles. Colt Canada only produced 144,000 rifles as of 2015 that I know of. I don't know how many more they produced since, but 144,000. Canada has 65,000 military members, 1 rifle per person. We don't really have a whole lot to give away. We don't. What's going on in Ukraine? We keep hearing about schools and hospitals being blown up. Let me read this comment. It is. Listen, fear-mongering, it's an art. It's an absolute art. We're going to talk about something that's going to be very uncomfortable for some people, so if you don't like it, please exit out. Hitler in the 30s started telling people that the Jews were spreading typhus. You have to dehumanize people. It makes them so much easier to kill. I don't say that lightly. If you dehumanize people, when they are killed, you don't care as much. The German population knew that the Jews were being exterminated, but they didn't care because they were dehumanized. Kind of like what Trudeau was talking about, how the people like me who are unvaccinated take up space, and how we're going to tolerate people like myself. I study history. I'm an avid reader. I read everything and anything I get my hands on. I've read history. I used to volunteer at nursing homes when I lived in Ottawa. And one of the nursing homes I went to, this lady had a tattoo on her arm right here. Sorry, right there. With some numbers on it. And the staff didn't know what it was. And I was floored by this. I'm like, you don't know what that is. They're like, no, it's very weird. She's a number tattoo on her arm. And I said, this lady's a gem. She survived the Holocaust. She was obviously in a camp, probably as a child. Now, at this point, she was in a wheelchair. I believe it was Alzheimer's or dementia, one of them. So she couldn't communicate. But I held her hand and I said, listen, I know you've been through a lot. I want to pet my dog. And she had a big shit-eating grin on her face. But the staff, and I'm going to tell you a little something. A lot of the staff weren't born in Canada. Leave it at that. But they didn't know. They had no idea the history. And that's the other thing I want to talk about real quick. Now that Europe is allowing all of the Ukrainian refugees basically free access in Europe, hell, Canada wants to bring 100,000 people in here. I just noticed all of the Black, Muslim, midget, gay refugees showing up on borders. I wish I was kidding. I watch a lot of news, a lot, from different places of the world. And the German news agency, anyway, they're interviewing refugees fleeing Ukraine. And there was a 4-foot-tall Muslim guy, looked like he was probably Ethiopian, maybe Somalian. I worked with both groups. There's certain characteristics of certain people. People from Rwanda look very European, but they're black, but very European. Anyway, I digress. And this guy's about 4 feet tall, speaking Arabic, and him and his buddy, and they looked like they were a couple. So the black, gay, Muslim Ukrainians are now fleeing. Can we stand in unity for the black, gay, Muslim, midget Ukrainians? Can we? Something weird's going on here. I'm not the smartest guy, but I think the black population of Ukraine is minuscule, if that. And I think the Muslims of Ukraine are minuscule. I do. I don't think there's a whole lot. They're I think they're a Christian nation, much like Russia. And I've seen people from other parts of the world also fleeing Ukraine. Now, it's just an observation. I really don't care where you're from. Anyone, listen, fleeing war, I get it. I worked with a child soldier from Sudan many years ago. I have friends of mine who are immigrants from war-torn countries. But when people were fleeing, I don't know, what's a good example? Fleeing Vietnam in the 70s and coming to North America, there wasn't a whole lot of white guys fleeing Vietnam. They were mostly Vietnamese people because it's Vietnam. And now we have the black, gay, midget, Muslim Ukrainians fleeing. And I wish them the best. I do. I just hope them and their population gets the safety in the West. Because if we can't support them, I mean, I don't even know their pronouns. Is that a hate crime? I don't know. I don't know anymore because that's how silly things have become. I just hope people make it out. But I do think we're being distracted from larger things going on in the world. Listen, no one cares who you sleep with. I'm going to be honest with you. I served with a guy many years ago in the military when it was still illegal to be gay, and we all knew he was gay. We all knew. And when he came leaping out of the closet after 96 and became legal to be gay in the military, we were like, Gary, we all knew, buddy. He's like, what? We're like, Gary, you have a guy roommate. You live in a one-bedroom apartment. You wear booty shorts. We knew you were gay. We didn't care. And that was in the Army. I was an infantry back then, way back in the day. So no one cares who you sleep with, what you identify as. Just be a decent fucking human being. What I'm not a fan of is being beat over the head with people's sexuality. I don't care. I have a sticker on the back of my car, one of my cars, and it says, I love crack whores. It also says, do you follow Jesus this close? It's part of the duality of man, isn't it? I love the crack horse and I love the Jesus. Why can't you love them both? I'm just saying. Oh, I also have a fuck Trudeau sticker on the back of my car. Kind of like that. Duality of man. I just think we're being distracted from something bigger going on in the world. And I think it has a lot to do with digital ID. Yeah, they are just roommates. I had one more quick army story before I go, because I have to run soon. I had a friend of mine who was a former infanteer, 3 tours in Afghanistan. And he became a weapons technician like myself. And he was my OJT on the job training, shadowing me sort of thing. We have a laser engraver in the shop. And one morning I go in, coffee in hand, and he has like a dog collar in the laser engraver because it's leather. And I'm like, And it said Nikko on it, Nikko. And I was like, that's a nice looking dog collar. He's like, yeah, it's from my boyfriend. I'm like, okay. I thought you live with your girlfriend. He's like, I live with both. And I'm like, who does the dishes? He's like, that's the strangest fucking question I've ever been asked. And I was like, dude, that's a big issue with couples or thruples or whatever you want to call them. I was just curious. Hell of a good guy. I don't care who he slept with. I don't give a shit because he's just a rock solid guy. But yeah. But I do think we're being distracted. I do. And I think the longer we're distracted, the more they're going to get away with. And who knows what they want to get away with. I just found out in the UK, the Pfizer shots were basically produced or sold to the British government at roughly €5 a shot. Then basically the government charged the health system €18 a shot or £18 a shot. Anyway, there was some massive money being made. And now Pfizer wants the 4th jab. The 4th jab. Holy fucking needles everywhere. Fucking stick in my neck. Like, I got tattoos. I don't mind needles. I just don't want the clot shot. Can I say a clot shot? The jib. We'll call it the jib. I don't want the jib. I'm a pretty healthy guy. I'd rather not just get it. Fine. My spouse has 3 shots, and she's always sick. So, I don't know. I don't get sick very often. My nose runs mostly because of the weird temperature changes around here. A few days ago, it was 17 degrees. Now it's 2. That weird weather. Got a bowl of noodles in front of me. I'm not going to eat them all while casting live. But anyway, just think about that. I think we're being distracted. I really do. I think there's some weird shit going on in the background. And I don't know what's coming. Rumor has it that Vladimir Putin has moved him, his 38-year-old wife, and their 4 children to a secret city somewhere in Siberia, because yesterday, a bunch of the Soviet doomsday planes, we'll call them, were flying around. And people are like, that's a little weird. Their national command post, a couple of electronic aircraft that does basically radio relay. Yeah, I don't know what sort of sunscreen you need for a nuclear blast, but all I have is FPF 30. Who am I kidding? I'm a kilometer from an air base. I'm fucked. Nuclear flash, I go blind. I won't even see it. Kids. Anyway, I have to run. I do have to go to the butcher shop in a few minutes. You folks have a great day. Don't do anything I would. And don't sweat the petty things. And don't pet the sweaty things. You have a great day.